Battle Through the Heavens Season 6 Episode 148. After many years, the once naive young man of the Shao clan, now the young pavilion master of the Starfall Pavilion, is heading to the Gu clan to attend his little girlfriend's coming-of-age ceremony. After Little Fairy Doctor completely controlled the evil poison body, her power soared from a 4-star Dozun to a 7-star. This abnormal cultivation speed made Lucky Brother exclaim, "There's not a single normal person around me." Picking up where we left off, Xiao Yan learned from Yao Lao that the last remaining piece of the purifying demonic flame will be auctioned off at a spatial trading convention. There's less than a year until the auction begins. So, Yao Lao asked Xiao Yan to embark on a task beforehand. Hearing these words, Sun Er's touching, youthful image slowly surfaced in Xiao Yan's mind. His dark eyes were suddenly filled with a burning passion. After all, during these years of separation, this girl had always been Lucky Brother's weakness. He couldn't resist her. Yao Lao said the Gu clan would hold a coming-of-age ceremony for their outstanding younger generation. Those invited to attend were mostly powerful forces on the continent and top experts. Because Yao Lao had just broken through to the semi-saint level, the Starfall Pavilion was also among the invitees. He tossed a black jade invitation to Xiao Yan. Only those holding this item could enter the Gu clan. This mission should have been undertaken by Yao Lao representing the Starfall Pavilion, but to prevent the Soul Palace lurking in the shadows from attacking, it could only be entrusted to Xiao Yan. Moreover, in Yao Lao's view, with Xiao Yan's current strength and reputation, he was fully qualified. So, do you have the guts to go? Don't worry, teacher, your disciple will definitely not disgrace you. Ha ha ha, I'm not worried about that. You'll set off in a few days. Also, I know about your relationship with Xiao Sun Er. As far as I know, she possesses the most complete Do Di bloodline the Gu clan has seen in many years. So, being with her isn't going to be easy. Hearing Yao Lao's words, Xiao Yan silently nodded. He had long been aware of Sun Er's status within the Gu clan. But in Xiao Yan's view, no power in this world could stop him from being with Sun Er, even if it was the Gu clan, one of the 8 ancient clans. Thinking of this, Xiao Yan's hand tightened abruptly around the invitation. I said the next time we meet would be at the Gu clan. So, wait for me. For this trip to the Gu clan, just in case, Yao Lao had Xiao Yan take Tian Huazunja and Little Fairy Doctor along. Many experts would be going to the Gu clan, so they could look out for each other. While Xiao Yan was away at the Taishu Ancient Dragon clan, Tian Huazunja, with the help of Pil Zunja's pills, successfully recovered to the level of a 6-star Dozun. Little Fairy Doctor, meanwhile, was arranged by Yao Lao to cultivate in an ancient tomb. It was said that the person buried there was also a possessor of the evil poison body. Yao Lao's poison sealing method was obtained from there. But that person wasn't as lucky as Little Fairy Doctor. The method to control the poison body was only created when he was on the verge of death. Therefore, at his burial place, Little Fairy Doctor would find the way to completely control the poison body. She would become the first person in history to truly control the evil poison body. Now, all they had to do was wait for Little Fairy Doctor to successfully emerge from seclusion, and then they would set off for the Gu clan. Hearing Yao Lao's words, Xiao Yan slowly nodded. He hadn't expected Little Fairy Doctor to have such a miraculous opportunity. While waiting for Little Fairy Doctor, Xiao Yan stayed in a room at the Starfall Pavilion, planning to improve his soul power. After all, the strength of one's soul power determined the level of an alchemist. Ever since Xiao Yan's soul entered the so-called near-initial stage, he hadn't focused much on it because of his Do Qi cultivation. He hadn't divided his attention. Although with his current rank as an 8th-tier peak alchemist, he could easily surpass the younger generation in Zhongzhou, within the mysterious Pil clan, he could only barely make it into the top 5 of the younger generation. This fact, revealed by Yao Lao, was undoubtedly considerable pressure for Xiao Yan. Moreover, he naturally understood Yao Lao's relationship with the Pil clan. He was afraid that in the future, he would inevitably have to deal with those so-called Pil clan members. So, when the time came, he definitely couldn't shame Yao Lao. Thinking of this, Xiaoyan clenched his hand, and a scroll appeared in his grasp. This was none other than the scroll Xiaoyan had received as a reward for winning the Alchemist Grand Meeting, an ancient soul cultivation technique called Tai Soul Suppression. As a strand of soul power slowly seeped into it, a large amount of profound text floated within the depths of his mind. After carefully reading through it, the confusion Xiaoyan previously felt when cultivating his soul suddenly cleared up. Just as Xiaoyan rejoiced at this, he saw the energy of the surrounding world slowly pouring into him. Between his eyebrows, feeling this change, Xiaoyan, in astonishment, slowly inhaled. So this is the change after having a complete technique? No wonder alchemists were so prosperous in ancient times. Xiaoyan estimated that at this rate of cultivation, it wouldn't be long before his soul realm reached the mid-initial stage. In the following days, Xiaoyan completely immersed himself in the cultivation of the Tai Soul Suppression. It wasn't until the 8th day that a familiar aura finally appeared within Xiaoyan's perception. The owner of that aura was Little Fairy Doctor, who had been in seclusion for a long time. Sensing the vastness of this aura, even with Xiaoyan's composure, he couldn't help but gasp. She's become this strong? He quickly pushed open the door and looked at the elegant figure standing before him. Xiaoyan was stunned because Little Fairy Doctor's once blood-red hair had returned to its original color. Now she looked just like the Little Fairy Doctor who had healed the sick and saved the dying in Qingshan town all those years ago. Seeing Xiaoyan's stunned expression, Little Fairy Doctor couldn't help but smile. What? Don't recognize me? Your hair. Before Xiaoyan could finish, his gaze fell upon Little Fairy Doctor's forehead. There, he saw a complex, pale purple mark. According to Little Fairy Doctor, all the evil poison chi in her body had transformed into this rune. It was thanks to the condensing technique created by that senior that she was able to completely control the evil poison body and raise her strength to 7-star Dozun in one fell swoop. Hearing this, even though Xiaoyan was mentally prepared, he still couldn't help but gasp. That was a whole 3-star increase in strength. This situation made Xiaoyan, who had only barely managed to raise his strength by 2 stars after devouring the fallen heart flame, speechless. Are there any normal people around me? Why do they all cultivate so abnormally fast? It had only been less than a year, and everyone's strength had greatly increased. With your current lineup, if you encounter the 9 Heavens Venerable of the Soul Palace again, you'll definitely be able to kill him. Although Xiaoyan was only a 5-star Dozun, he could unleash power that even 6-star or even 7-star experts couldn't match. Plus, with Qing Lin and Tianhua Zunjia, 2 6-star Dozuns, and Little Fairy Doctor, a 7-star Dozun with the evil poison body, even if they faced an ambush from the Soul Palace. As long as they didn't send out any semi-saint or higher-level experts, their group would be able to retreat safely. After recovering from the surprise of Little Fairy Doctor's increased strength, Xiaoyan smiled. All right, since you're ready, then we should be on our way. All right, let's go. Regarding Xiaoyan's decision, Little Fairy Doctor smiled slightly and didn't object. After all, in her opinion, being able to silently stand behind him and support him was the happiest thing in her life. So, the day after Little Fairy Doctor returned to the Starfall Pavilion, after some brief preparations, the 4 of them embarked on their journey to the Gu clan. In Gu clan territory, Xiaoyan runs into Lin Quan again, the Black Smoke Army's deputy commander who once swaggered and showed off in front of him at the Jianan Academy. He never expected this guy to be someone who can't take a hint. Back in Yicheng, Lucky Brother gave him a good beating. Now, Lin Quan thought he could use his home court advantage to get even. Unexpectedly, Xiaoyan kicked him. Picking up where we left off, after Little Fairy Doctor successfully controlled the evil poison body at the Starfall Pavilion and broke through to 7-star Dozun, Xiaoyan and the others embarked on their journey to the Gu clan to attend the coming-of-age ceremony of the younger generation. The entrance to the Gu clan territory was located in the eastern region of Zhengzhou, in a city called Ancient Saint City. The journey from the Starfall Pavilion was quite far, so even with the spatial wormhole, it still took them half a month to arrive. What appeared before them was an ancient city enveloped in a transparent light barrier. This barrier looked thin, but it gave them a subtle pressure that seemed to emanate from their very souls. According to Donghua, this city was built by the Do-D expert of the Gu clan, and within the light barrier was a trace of Do-D power. Therefore, this city was as impregnable as a fortress. As a sign of respect for the Do-D expert, no one was allowed to fly within 1,000 zhang radius of Ancient Saint City. So, Xiaoyan and the others slowly descended and walked towards the city gate. At the gate, a group of figures in black armor, holding spears, were checking every expert who wanted to enter. After all, without an invitation, entry into Ancient Saint City was strictly forbidden. Absolutely no one was allowed inside. Although the entry procedures were quite cumbersome, due to the Gu clan's overwhelming power, no one dared to cause trouble there. However, when Xiaoyan and his group arrived, his eyes suddenly landed on a familiar figure at the city gate. Xiaoyan's pupils narrowed slightly. This person was none other than the Black Smoke Army commander Lin Quan, with whom he had several run-ins before. Xiaoyan hadn't expected to run into this idiot right after arriving. It truly was a narrow road for enemies. Just as Xiaoyan was staring at Lin Quan, the latter seemed to sense it and turned around. Lin Quan's face darkened. "Xiaoyan," he said coldly, "who allowed you here?" However, Xiaoyan ignored Lin Quan's rudeness and flicked his jade invitation towards him like lightning. When Lin Quan saw that it was a Gu clan invitation, he said disdainfully, "So it's the Starfall Pavilion. A power like that, how did they get a Gu clan invitation? It's written clearly in black and white. If you can't read, go ask someone from your Gu clan. Now, return the invitation." Hearing Xiaoyan's calm words, Lin Quan was furious. But he didn't throw the invitation back to Xiaoyan. Instead, he gripped the bottom half tightly and told Lucky Brother to come and get it himself. Clearly, Lin Quan wanted to intimidate and suppress him. But he had clearly miscalculated. As soon as he finished speaking, the invitation he was gripping was snatched away. By the time he reacted, it was already in Xiaoyan's hand. This sudden turn of events made Lin Quan's face flush red. He had intended to make a fool of Xiaoyan, but he had ended up losing face himself. Enraged, Lin Quan forgot his current position and, with a furious roar, struck at Xiaoyan's head. However, before his attack could land, Xiaoyan kicked him away. Lin Quan, falling from the city wall, spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. When they last met in Yicheng, his strength had been a star higher than Xiaoyan's. But now he couldn't even see Xiaoyan's attack coming. He was utterly defeated. This extreme change made his arrogant self want to cough up blood. In just a few years, the kid he once considered an ant back in the inner academy was now able to stand above him. Seeing Xiaoyan kick a one-star Dozun with a single leg, the onlookers showed surprise. They clearly hadn't expected this grand meeting champion to not only be so accomplished in alchemy, but also to have such monstrous talent in Do-Chi cultivation. Looking at the shocked Lin Quan, Xiaoyan smiled and said, "Commander Lin, sorry I was a bit heavy-handed. However, please don't do anything this stupid again. There aren't many people as merciful as me." Hearing this, Lin Quan was completely enraged. He no longer cared whether Xiaoyan had been invited by the Gu clan or not. He immediately ordered his Black Smoke Army squad to seize Xiaoyan. Seeing the Black Smoke Army soldiers pointing their spears at Xiaoyan, Little Fairy Doctor and the others' faces darkened, and their vast Do-Chi quietly surged. Just as the two sides were on the verge of a clash, another Black Smoke Army commander rushed down from the city wall and stopped them. "Lin Quan, what are you doing?" Nothing. Xiaoyan guessed that this person was much stronger than Lin Quan. He was probably a 3-star Dozun. However, when this commander learned from others that this black-robed young man was Xiaoyan, his expression turned serious. Lin Quan chimed in, "That's right, he's the Xiaoyan Miss Sun Air talks about. You still want to let him in?" Hearing their conversation, Xiaoyan was confused. It seemed his name was already well known within the Gu clan. The commander, after giving Xiaoyan a complicated look, could only helplessly let him go. After all, Xiaoyan had a Gu clan invitation. If, like the brainless Lin Quan, he chased Xiaoyan away, then wouldn't people mock the Gu clan for their lack of manners? "Mr. Xiaoyan, please wait in ancient Saint City for a few days. Someone will escort you to the Gu clan then." Hearing this, Xiaoyan nodded slightly. Although this commander seemed to harbor a slight hostility towards him, he was much more reasonable than Lin Quan. However, what puzzled Xiaoyan was that he had never met this person before. Where did this hostility come from? Could it be because of Sun Air? Thinking of this, Xiaoyan smiled wryly. It seemed this trip to the Gu clan wouldn't be smooth sailing. And just as he thought, as Xiaoyan walked past the commander, the latter hesitated, then cupped his hands and said, "If it's not too much trouble, could we spar some time, Mr. Xiaoyan? I'd like to see if you are truly worthy of Miss Sun Air." Hearing this, Xiaoyan sighed inwardly. He didn't make excuses to refuse. Instead, he slowly nodded. Xiaoyan knew Sun Air's status within the Gu clan, her talent, and her breathtaking beauty. He imagined most of the young elites within the Gu clan harbored feelings for her, and they would naturally see him as their greatest rival. Xiaoyan knew that similar challenges would be endless, but he would face them all. After lamenting his busy future, Xiaoyan led Little Fairy Doctor and the others into ancient Saint City. Watching them walk away, Lin Quan glared at them. "Xiaoyan, you were fine staying out of our way. But since you've walked right into the lion's den, you can only blame yourself for your ignorance. Your measly strength is nothing compared to the young elites of the Gu clan. You're not even qualified to be called their rival." In the Gu clan, Sun Air boldly declares before the elders that she will marry no one but Xiaoyan. Unexpectedly, this declaration sets off a firestorm among the Gu clan's admirers. A crowd of Black Smoke Army commanders all rushed to give Xiaoyan a full-body massage. Picking up where we left off, after kicking Lin Quan at the inner gate and sending him sprawling, Xiaoyan and Little Fairy Doctor arrived at a manor prepared for them by the Gu clan, as the spatial passage wouldn't open for another 3 days. The manor was already filled with numerous experts from all directions. In the center of the manor was a huge arena. The experts there were waiting to spar and exchange pointers. After finding a spot in a restaurant next to the arena, Xiaoyan asked Little Fairy Doctor to gather information about the Black Smoke Army. Since he was about to interact with the Gu clan, he naturally wanted to learn more about them. The Black Smoke Army was said to be where the Gu clan's strongest warriors gathered. Therefore, Xiaoyan had to gather some information about them. Meanwhile, on a mist-shrouded mountain peak, a young woman in a light green dress sat quietly in meditation. This was Sun Air, who had been separated from Xiaoyan for a long time. As she meditated with her eyes closed, an elderly figure appeared. "Miss, young Master Xiaoyan has arrived in ancient Saint City. How is he?" "Young Master Xiaoyan is no longer someone I can see through. But according to the information I received, Lin Quan, a 1-star Dozun, couldn't even last one move against him. I suspect young Master Xiaoyan's strength is at least 4-star Dozun." Ling Ying was astonished. When he was tasked with protecting Xiaoyan, Xiaoyan was only a small doja. Yet, in just 10 years, he had reached a level he couldn't even comprehend. This cultivation speed was truly terrifying. My lady has good taste indeed. Hearing Ling Ying's words, Sun Air smiled slightly. She had been in seclusion for the past few years, so she rarely heard about outside matters. But even so, Sun Air knew that Xiaoyan now had a prominent reputation in Zhongzhou. Because, from beginning to end, she had always believed in her Xiaoyan Gigi. "But miss, what you announced at the clan meeting might cause some trouble for young Master Xiaoyan. I believe in him." Hearing this, Ling Ying could only smile wryly. Not long ago, after this prized daughter of the Gu clan emerged from seclusion, the Gu clan elders began discussing her future marriage. However, Sun Er strongly opposed it. Whether you object or support it, I love him. And you can't change that. Meanwhile, back at the restaurant, little fairy doctor returned after gathering information about the Black Smoke Army. According to her, the Black Smoke Army held a high position within the Gu clan. Their selection criteria were extremely strict. Not only did they require absolute loyalty to the Gu clan, but they also had to reach a certain level within a specific age range. Within this strict hierarchy, there were 8 commanders. Lin Quan and Wu Tongling, whom Xiao Yan met yesterday, were 2 of them. However, Lin Quan was only ranked 7th. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. Lin Quan and Wu Tongling were 1-star and 3-star dozuns respectively. So, the chief commander of the Black Smoke Army must be at least a 6-star, or even higher, as expected of one of the 8 ancient clans. According to Little Fairy Doctor, Xiao Yan was now extremely unpopular among the Gu clan's younger generation because, at the elders' meeting, Sun Er personally confirmed their relationship. Therefore, many within the Gu clan now considered Xiao Yan a rival. Seeing Little Fairy Doctor's amused expression, Xiao Yan smiled wryly. He hadn't expected Sun Er to become so bold. But in Xiao Yan's view, it was what it was. Their relationship was bound to be revealed eventually. As for those Gu clan geniuses, they could come at him. Lucky Brother would teach them a lesson. However, Little Fairy Doctor reminded Xiao Yan that among the 8 commanders, although most of them disliked him, they weren't the biggest threat. The 4 chief commanders were. Hearing this, Xiao Yan was taken aback. According to Little Fairy Doctor, the true upper echelon of the Black Smoke Army consisted of the 8 commanders, the 4 chief commanders, and the 2 true leaders, the Black Smoke Kings. These 4 chief commanders, even within the talent-filled Gu clan, were known as supreme geniuses. Although they were far from Sun Er's level, given their potential, they would likely become core members of the Gu clan in the future. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's heart grew heavy. He reasoned that since the chief commanders were higher ranked than the commanders, even the weakest chief commander should be stronger than the strongest commander. So, the 4 chief commanders were probably as strong as the 9 heavens venerable of the Soul Palace. Is the Dodi bloodline really that powerful? Xiao Yan felt pressured. His cultivation speed was already considered monstrous among his peers. However, compared to these Gu clan geniuses, he still seemed slightly weaker. The saying, "There's always someone stronger out there," was indeed true. He also didn't know whether the 4 chief commanders were hostile towards him. Thinking of this, a fierce glint flashed in Xiao Yan's eyes. Even if the heavens themselves came down, they wouldn't be able to stop him from being with Sun Er. Although Xiao Yan was only a 5-star dozun, if it came to a fight, he wouldn't be afraid of even a 7-star or 8-star dozun. He wasn't afraid at all. So he hoped the 4 chief commanders wouldn't mistake him for a pushover. However, in Tian Huazunja's opinion, although the Dodi bloodline did make cultivation smooth sailing, that was only true up to the Dosheng level. Even within an ancient clan like the Gu clan, while there were many dozun experts, those who actually reached Dosheng were few. To reach that level, they could only rely on themselves. The Dodi bloodline would become a burden. Therefore, Tian Huazunja was more optimistic about Xiao Yan. Perhaps when Xiao Yan reached Dosheng, these Gu clan members would still be stuck at Dozun. Hearing this, Xiao Yan nodded slightly. Although the Dodi bloodline was powerful, it couldn't mass-produce Dosheng experts. Otherwise, it would be too heaven-defying. As they talked, 3 cold gazes locked onto Xiao Yan. 2 of them belonged to Lin Quan, whom Xiao Yan had kicked away, and Wu Tongling, who wanted to challenge Lucky Brother. Beside them was a young man in a green robe. So that's Xiao Yan. He's quite famous in Zhongzhou now. Even coming to our Gu clan, his arrogance hasn't lessened at all. This isn't Zhongzhou. Even if Miss Sun Er might not look favorably upon us, at least someone like him shouldn't be qualified. Don't do anything rash. they are guests after all. Ha ha ha, don't worry. Everything will be done according to the rules. As he finished speaking, the two figures sparring in the arena below determined a victor. As they left the arena, a loud voice rang out. Next up, Black Smoke Army's third commander, Liang Hao, versus the alchemist grand meeting champion, Xiao Yan. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's face darkened. It seemed he had been set up. Please give us a like and subscribe, fellow Taoists. Let's continue our chat in the next episode.